Imagine you're a business owner relying on a dozen different software programs. Each one is expensive, overly complicated, and worst of all, none of them are connected. It can be incredibly stressful, right? Now, picture Odoo. CRM, accounting, inventory, manufacturing, marketing, HR, and more. Odoo brings all the tools your business needs into one simple platform, and all seamlessly connected. Everything works together, giving you the peace of mind that your business is running smoothly from every angle. Odoo's open-source applications are user-friendly and designed to scale with your business, saving you time and money. Say goodbye to juggling multiple platforms and hello to efficient integrated management. Stop wasting resources on complicated systems and make the switch to Odoo today. Visit odoo.com, ODOO.com, and discover how Odoo can simplify and streamline your business operations. Odoo, modern management made simple.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Don't feel bad. I mean, with the clock the way it is, I know exactly when to start talking now. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Back to normal. I know the times all of a sudden, but I suspect that's about to change. It's an inside joke. Don't worry about it, folks. We're going to move on. 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, you are more than welcome to be on the program. If you can make it past the call screener, who's a delightful, delightful person, which actually means the regular call screener must be out. Okay, I actually want to talk about China, but before I do, I forgot I had this video, and I got to play this for you. The unseriousness of all this. Randy Weingarten is the head of the American Federation of Teachers, big teachers union president. And remember, the teachers union is to represent the teachers, not the kids. So the kids get thrown out of school because of COVID. The teachers don't want to come back until we have diversity, equity, and inclusion payments, stuff like that. And the teachers union represents the teachers. And the result is that we have degraded education. And in fact, it's not a coincidence that Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, southern states without strong teachers unions are now crushing the blue states when it comes to literacy and mathematics, things like that. This is Randy Weingarten, who is a progressive Democrat who went on Morning Joe on MSNBC the other day and did this.
There is a reason why in Norway, when the Nazis took over Norway, that's why I'm wearing this paperclip. I wear two things now. The American flag, nobody can take patriotism away from me, and a paperclip. What did the teachers in Norway do when there was the Nazi occupation? They started wearing paperclips.
When there was a Nazi occupation, the teachers in Norway started wearing paperclips as a subtle sign of opposition to the Nazi takeover of Norway. So the head of the American Federation of Teachers in the United States of America has taken to wearing a paperclip to symbolize the Nazi takeover of America. And she will be perfectly happy to fund the Nazis of the United States if illegal aliens get health care, and PBS and NPR are funded. That's the wild juxtaposition that the Democrats have boxed themselves into, where the Democrats believe that Donald Trump's a Nazi and he should be allowed to run his Nazi regime so long as illegal aliens get health care and NPR and PBS are funded for rich white people. If the rich white people get their media and the illegal aliens get their health care, the Nazis can Nazi all they want. I did not see this coming. I mean, they boxed themselves straight into it. This is the rhetoric that they're using. We got to wear a paperclip on our lapel to symbolize the Nazi takeover of America. And those Nazis, we're going to let them Nazi everything they want to do as long as we get PBS and NPR and illegals get health care. Y'all, how can you reopen the government at all? How can you reopen this government if you believe the Nazis are in charge? So much so you've taken to wearing a paperclip in solidarity with the Norwegian teachers of World War II. How can you support funding Donald Trump at all? How can you support any of this? They're going to. What's going to happen is the government is eventually going to reopen. There will be Democratic votes to reopen the government. It will be required to reopen the government, to overcome the filibuster. Democrats will have to cut off debate. Now, they can refuse to vote for the overall package, which is probably what they will do, but they're going to have to vote to end the filibuster first. They're going to have to vote to stop protecting Americans from this Nazi regime, and it's going to happen. And what will the progressive base do to the Democrats, who they said were the only thing standing between them and the Nazis? What will it be? I venture to say the progressives are going to have a civil war within the Democratic Party, and they're going to be rejected overall because the American people are not as far left as the Democratic Party, and it shows up in the data. Now, I do want to talk about this report from Booz Allen. Now, you should understand this is a think tank. This is a company that does consulting work with the federal government. They're trying to be involved. I'm sure they're trying to get some money out of the federal government to be complicit, but they actually do have a very detailed report. I want to read you the executive summary from Booz Allen. And again, they are a consultancy firm that undoubtedly wants federal dollars to implement what they say is a problem, but they actually have a detailed report on the invasion that the Chinese have conducted on the United States and its allies. Did you even know we've been invaded by China? Did you know? Because we have. The Chinese have gotten so far into our telecom systems, we don't know how to get them out. We've given up as a government. The government of the United States has given up on trying to get the Chinese out of our telecommunication system. The Chinese can hear everything you're saying on your telephone today. Unless you're sending blue bubbles with an Apple iPhone, if you're sending text messages on an Android device or an Apple device, they can read your text messages. They can read your emails. This is from the report. The People's Republic of China, the PRC, conducts cyber operations that are strategic, persistent, and global. From breaching government agencies and pre-positioning in ports to deploying ransomware for political coercion and honing influence operations with AI, these operations are well documented. But their cumulative strategic impact remains poorly understood and insufficiently integrated into U.S. planning. These operations constrain U.S. options in future crises and geostrategic competition. Overcoming this challenge requires understanding the technical accelerants of PRC cyber power, the global systemic conditions it exploits, and the national actions needed to push back against these encroaching constraints. Again and again, PRC cyber operations have reportedly caught the United States and its allies and partners by surprise. The U.S. must break this cycle. National leaders must not assume any sectors are secure or underestimate the PRC's capacity to deliberately evolve its tradecraft in pursuit of strategic goals. Future policy must anticipate the PRC's growing scale, speed, and agility, not just replicate past breach playbooks. Reversing these trends will require urgent national action coordinated with international allies and partners to expose, contest, and dislodge PRC footholds before they harden into structural disadvantages for the United States. It's a real problem. What distinguishes the People's Republic of China's cyber offense today is more than the breadth of its targeting or the persistence of its access. It is Beijing's fusion of national strategy, technical innovation, and exploitation of global systemic circumstances into a disciplined architecture of geopolitical cyber power. AI is turbocharging the scale, tempo, and targeting of the cyber and information operations. Y'all, they're inside our telecom system right now, and more likely than not, they're inside the power grids around the country, the water support systems, the sewage control systems inside the country, and the natural gas systems. They've been able to hack their way in, along with the Iranians and the North Koreans. Tomorrow, the Chinese could type a few keystrokes on a keyboard and shut down our cell phone networks in the United States, and there's nothing we can do about it. Think about the operation in New York and notice how quiet it's gotten. Last week at the United Nations, the Secret Service found 100,000 SIM cards and operations within 30 miles of the United Nations building in New York in a 35-mile radius designed to overwhelm the cell phone networks in New York. The odds are that was Russian. Do you know how I know the odds are that it was Russian, other than having talked to some people who believe it was the Russians? And they would know, in their words, the Chinese wouldn't have to set up a hardware network. They could already hack into the system. But it appears the Chinese were using that cell network, and other hostile powers were using that cell network. We are vulnerable. Neither the Biden administration nor the Trump administration has any idea how to get them out of our systems. In fact, one of the things that the government under the Biden administration and now the Trump administration has been urging leaders to do in Congress and in state government is to use secure apps like WhatsApp or Apple iMessages or Signal, because they're so much more secure. That's right. The government is encouraging people. You know, it's so funny. They had that Signal chat where, remember, what's his name, who was the national security advisor? He's going to be the UN secretary or ambassador, Mike Waltz. He added Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic by mistake and was pushed out of the Trump administration shortly thereafter. The administration was using the Signal app because the Biden administration recommended everybody use the Signal app. And then the Democrats turned it around and made it a scandal and said, why were they using these private secure apps? Why weren't they using government channels? They weren't, because the Biden administration told everybody not to. Of course, the media didn't want to report on that. There's been a massive takeover in the United States of our cyber and telecom infrastructure by the Chinese. I talked to a couple of members of the United States Senate on the Intelligence Committee. They are not able to speak very much because of the classified nature of their briefings. But they have said that it's not good and we have no solutions. This is from the report. Beijing's cyber strategy leverages 4 force multipliers: trusted relationships compromise, edge device exploitation, AI acceleration, and attribution contestation, maximizing operational reach, stealth, speed, and deniability. Trusted relationship abuse is giving the PRC strategic advantage by establishing persistent access that bypasses conventional cyber defenses and erodes U.S. response capabilities. What is trusted relationship abuse? It means they're already inside the system. So when your phone connects to my phone, the Chinese are already sitting there waiting, and both your phone and my phone think they're uncompromised because they can't detect the person who's already there listening in. Their shift from denying to contesting risk fragments responses by the allies. And their operations aim to constrain U.S. power by eroding agility and escalation control in East Asia, fracturing alliance coordination in Europe and the Five Eyes, and embedding economic and geopolitical leverage across the developing world. Five Eyes, that's us and our major intelligence partners. They're trying to compromise that intelligence by already being inside the system. When the Five Eyes, what is it, the United States, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand talk to each other, they're already inside the room listening. The Chinese have invaded us already. We're not prepared to deal with it. And it's something that this government needs to pay more and more attention to, and unfortunately they haven't yet.
Imagine you're a business owner relying on a dozen different software programs. Each one is expensive, overly complicated, and worst of all, none of them are connected. It can be incredibly stressful, right? Now, picture Odoo. CRM, accounting, inventory, manufacturing, marketing, HR, and more. Odoo brings all the tools your business needs into one simple platform, and all seamlessly connected. Everything works together, giving you the peace of mind that your business is running smoothly from every angle. Odoo's open source applications are user-friendly and designed to scale with your business, saving you time and money. Say goodbye to juggling multiple platforms and hello to efficient integrated management. Stop wasting resources on complicated systems and make the switch to Odoo today. Visit odoo.com, ODOO.com, and discover how Odoo can simplify and streamline your business operations. Odoo, modern management made simple.
Breaking news, this just in from Russell T. Vogt, the director of the Office of Management and Budget and acting director of the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Board. Nearly $8 billion in Green New Deal funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled due to the government shutdown. It is unfunded money. It will be canceled along with the jobs related thereto. He told you he was going to do this, Democrats, and you said he was bluffing. $8 billion and all the jobs related to those $8 billion just got permanently ended by the Trump administration, involving California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. Wow. Funny how that works. All of them Democrat states with Democrat senators who chose not to reopen the government, and there is nothing that can be done by the Democrats to stop it. Even if they find a la resistance judge to put a pause on it, it will come undone very quickly because it is an unfunded mandate. And the president, during unfunded mandate gaps like this, gets to say the programs are now unfunded and thereby canceled, along with all of the jobs related to them. Democrats, Russ Vogt told you exactly what he was going to do. And you said he wasn't going to do it. You said you would call his bluff. You said there was no way. He just did what you said he would not do. You called his bluff, and now he has put his cards on the table, and $8 billion in projects in Democratic states and the jobs related to them just ended thanks to the Democrats shutting down the government. Now, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank. It is my bank, and they would love to have you bank with them. OldGloryBank.com. oldglorybank.com/Eric is where you want to go. oldglorybank.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Old Glory Bank is a bank that was started by conservatives concerned about the debanking trends in the country. They would love to have you. Check them out. You can get a no-fee checking, no-fee savings account. That's what I've got, no fees. They got good interest rates. You can get premium accounts that have some fees, but they're waived for active duty military. You can find out more at oldglorybank.com/Eric. They're fantastic organization, a great bank. You can do mortgages. You can do car loans. You can do CDs with competitive rates. They're a fully functioning bank. In fact, they're the fastest growing bank in the country. oldglorybank.com/ERICK, oldglorybank.com/Eric. I have totally enjoyed using Old Glory Bank. You can get a custodial account for your kids. You can even deposit cash, though it's an online bank. They figured out how you can deposit cash at 88,000 retail locations around the country. Their app makes it very easy. oldglorybank.com/Eric, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know data brokers are making billions selling your personal information, usually without your consent? That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
There's a familiar pattern in how the media and Democrats approach topics. My friend Mary Catherine Ham pointed this out a short time ago on Twitter. We're back in this as we are 14 plus hours into this government shutdown. It doesn't matter the issue. First of all, the Democrats tell us that it's not happening, whatever it is, whether it's girls and boys sports or boys in girls locker rooms or boys in girls sports, you name it, whatever it is, it's not happening. And then when you have evidence that it is happening, they say, well, it's happening, but it's not a big deal. And then as you expand the evidence that actually it's happening quite a bit, then they say, well, why are you opposed, you bigot? You're a hateful, racist bigot if you oppose this. You homophobe, misogynist, transphobic, bigot, whatever it is. It's not happening. It's happening, but it's not a big deal. And then, of course, it's happening. You bigot, why are you opposed to it? Republicans are pointing out that part of the reason Democrats are shutting down the government is they want funding to pay for health care for illegal aliens. The Senate Republicans put out a tweet. Senator Mazie Hirono and Senate Democrats want to add $1.4 trillion to a clean spending bill so illegal aliens can have taxpayer-funded health care. Eric Wasson is the congressional reporter for Bloomberg News. And he tweets, to be clear, the full $1.4 trillion they want isn't to boost health care for the undocumented. It's a tiny fraction of that. Wait a second. So it's happening. It's just a tiny fraction. And notice the Senate Republicans say illegal aliens, and the reporter for Bloomberg calls them undocumented. Undocumented. So you got that. First they said it's not true, and now they're saying it's true, but it's only a little bit. This is Ro Khanna. Well, Ro Khanna was one of the most progressive members of the United States House of Representatives. He represents California. He had the courage to go on Fox Business.
in terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
So wait. 90 to 95%. In other words, 5 to 10% of the money is going to cover illegal aliens. You got that? First, they said it wasn't happening. They denied that it was happening. They said, we are not funding health care for illegal aliens. And now they're saying, well, we're funding health care for illegal aliens, but it's only about 5 to 10% of the overall package. In other words, the Republicans are telling the truth. I'm sure PolitiFact will call it a lie because it's the truth that is inconvenient for the Democrats. It's true, but it's inconvenient for the Democrats. Therefore, must be a lie. You now have Ro Khanna, a Democratic member of Congress from California, on Fox Business, and Eric Wasson, a congressional reporter for Bloomberg, acknowledging that the Democrats are funding health care for illegal aliens. By the way, as part of their $1.4 trillion that they want to add, they're not just funding health care for illegal aliens. They also want to fund national public radio. They also want to fund PBS. So they're willing to shut down the government for that. They're willing to shut down the government to fund illegal aliens. The Democrats are doing the rounds on media outlets. The media, of course, loves to give the Democrats sympathy, but when they deny it, when they deny they're trying to fund health care for illegal aliens, it's actually in their legislative package. Here's what I suspect is going to happen. Donald Trump loves deals. He loves to cut deals. He wants to cut a deal. Donald Trump's already said he's happy to cut a deal with the Democrats. Here's what's going to happen. Donald Trump will say, okay, you know what? You can't have NPR and PBS, and you can't have health care for illegal aliens, but we'll fund health care. We'll put this money back in. What's it to Donald Trump? He doesn't care. So they'll re-up this Obamacare subsidy for it basically goes to insurance companies. They'll do it. They'll fund it. And the Democrats will resume allowing Donald Trump to deport illegal aliens. And I just find that to be the funniest part of this, that the man they call Hitler will be allowed to fund illegal aliens. The man they call Hitler will be allowed to deport people. It's very interesting to me that for all the rhetoric, the Democrats are willing to cave and allow Donald Trump to fund an agenda they say is Hitler-like. Now, in other news you need to know about, the Supreme Court has decided they will hear the case of Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve governor, in January. And until then, they're going to allow her to stay on the Federal Reserve. This is from the Wall Street Journal. The Supreme Court on Wednesday allowed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to keep her job for now and scheduled arguments in January to weigh President Trump's bid to fire her. The court, in a brief order, deferred a decision on the Trump administration's emergency request to remove Cook from the bank's independent board while a lawsuit challenging her dismissal proceeds. The justices on several occasions have allowed Trump to fire officials at other government agencies, but they have signaled they believe the Fed is unique and enjoys more protections from presidential intervention. By placing the case on its argument calendar, the court bought itself more time to consider the issue and dealt at least a mild setback to the president of the United States. Again, Donald Trump does not win everything before the United States Supreme Court, and you keep having Democrats insist that that's not the case. The Democrats insist that the Supremes are giving Donald Trump every single thing he wants, and that's not true. Additionally, I hesitate to bring up this news. I got all this other. I've been on the radio since 9 a.m. and I still got stuff I haven't gotten to because of all the shutdown news. So let me get to this one. The U.S. lost 32,000 private sector jobs in September. Now, we don't know this from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We know this from ADP. It's down from a revised loss of 3,000 in August. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had expected an increase of 45,000 jobs. ADP's report doesn't include government workers, but economists are giving it a closer look this month. That's because the Bureau of Labor Statistics monthly jobs report, scheduled to come out Friday, will be delayed due to the government shutdown. The surprise job loss in September is the latest sign that the labor market is weakening. Job growth has slowed to a trickle this year, even as the unemployment rate has held mostly steady. The Federal Reserve last month lowered short-term interest rates by a quarter point and signaled more cuts are coming, citing weak hiring. The labor market's a little tenuous. The leisure and hospitality sector shed 19,000 jobs last month, the largest decline among major sectors, according to ADP. Education and health services were bright spots with a collective 33,000 jobs. But wait, there's more. Why am I relying on the ADP data? Because the public sector data is not going to come out due to the government shutdown, but the ADP data is not considered the gold standard, even with all the revisions from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tends to be more accurate. In fact, let me read you this paragraph. ADP's report is based on data from more than 26 million workers whose employers use ADP to manage payrolls. That is a large sample of U.S. private sector employment, which includes about 136 million workers. ADP's monthly numbers sometimes diverge wildly from the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, which are based on a broader survey of employers. Still, ADP's methodology was substantially revised in 2022 in an effort to make it an independent reading of the labor market as opposed to a forecast of the Bureau of Labor Statistics readings. As a result, economists say the ADP numbers have become a more useful measure. In recent months, the ADP report has measured weakness in the job market before it showed up in revised official figures. In other words, the ADP data has long been discredited, but they've made some tweaks to the data, and economists think that it's probably headed in the right direction, but more notably, the ADP data sometimes shows job losses when the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows job gains, but then the Bureau of Labor Statistics revises their numbers and they more closely align with ADP numbers. So when you've got ADP numbers out there right now suggesting there have been some job losses and not actually job gains, it's a big red flag that there's weakness in the economy. And guess what? I don't know if you know this or not, but the Democrats just shut down the government. That's going to have an economic spillover effect. That's right. There are going to be job losses from the government. Russ Vought is signaling, in addition to the Green New Deal cuts that he has just cut, Russ Vought is saying firings will begin in a day or two. On a private call Wednesday, Russ Vought said that firings will begin in a day or two, according to 4 people granted anonymity. This is just hit the wires. Russ Vought and President Donald Trump have both threatened to inflict maximum pain on Democrats during the shutdown. A bipartisan group of senators discussed several early off-ramp ideas on the floor early Wednesday. Vought warned that money is about to run out for both the nutrition program for low-income moms and babies, known as WIC, and for pay-for active duty members of the military. Troops are set to miss paychecks beginning October 15th if the government remains closed. Lawmakers in both chambers are preparing legislation to pay troops amid the shutdown, but GOP leaders will wait before making a call to put such a bill to a vote, given it lessens the leverage on Democrats, according to 3 other people with direct knowledge granted anonymity. Leaders are so far sticking to the argument that Democrats need to approve the clean 7-week stopgap if they want to pay troops. Vought has said billions in infrastructure money for New York, the home state of both Democratic leaders, is being reviewed. He's already cut Green New Deal funding. Speaker Johnson told Republicans on the call that because of fraud, serious reforms are needed for the Affordable Care Act tax credit Democrats are demanding an extension of in the shutdown standoff. In response to a question from Rick Allen, congressman from Georgia, Johnson said Vice President Vance said the White House briefing that there's a time to negotiate the health care bill, but now is not the time. Overall, Russ Vought didn't provide a lot of details for House Republicans during the call. He was surprisingly vague on everything, said one person. Essentially, Russ Vought is saying that money is going to run out in the federal budget in the next 2 to 3 days for WIC and other items, and people will stop getting money for that. And then on top of that, they're going to start mass firings in the federal government within a day or two, giving the Democrats a timeline. I got to tell you, I just think that the Democratic base is going to lose their minds if the government's only closed for a day or two. They want maximum pain and concessions from the GOP, which you just don't get with a day or two. By the way, as I head into commercial break, there is some breaking news. Some of you will want to note Jane Goodall has died. She is the anthropologist and a woman who very famously worked with chimpanzees, changing how we see ourselves as humans, and very, very connected in the environmentalist community as well. Jane Goodall, the famed scientist, has died. CNN breaking that news right now. So you got that happening on top of everything else out there. And for those of us who are Braves fans, Brian Schnitker, after 49 years with the Braves, is stepping aside. He's going to be a consultant for the team for another year. That'll give him 50 years as an employee with the Braves. And I just got to say, I don't know whether he listens to the show or not. Brian Schnitker, I have enjoyed watching you with the Braves. I sat there 7 rows back the other day when they threw Matt Olson at that game, and you're coming out on the field and having it out with them and get thrown out. God bless you, man. The stuff you've put up with over these years. I hate that this is the year you're going out on, given the year the team has had, and wanted to see you be able to rebuild and have a great year next year. And I just I adore you. And what you've done for the team and the amount of quiet work that you have done for boys and girls sports around the state of Georgia, boys and girls clubs in the state of Georgia. Gosh, I hate you won't be on the field there as the manager next year. But God bless you. You have certainly earned a great retirement with the Braves.
So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs, manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Greetings, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here this very busy day with this government shutdown. The Republicans are talking to some of the more moderate Democrats in the United States Senate, plotting a path to reopen the government. There are a number of ideas being floated here. John Thune from South Dakota, he's the Senate leader, and Vice President Vance said they've been talking to some Democrats about expiring health care subsidies, but they won't negotiate as long as the government is closed. They want the government to reopen, pass a 7-week spending bill, and then they will negotiate in good faith extending Affordable Care Act subsidies that you got to remember the Democrats themselves had voted to get rid of, that were only there because of COVID, showing you that no government program that is temporary ever is temporary. They continue to prop these things up. Well, in the meantime, you've also got a complete meltdown by the Democrats over the Green New Deal. Russ Vought has announced in the last hour that he is canceling all projects in Democrat states related to the Biden Inflation Reduction Act Green New Deal spending. Bill Weir is in absolute meltdown over the Trump administration's climate change policies. He's the progressive activist that the Democrats trot out on CNN all the time.
We'll just put up the bullet points here. I'll talk you through them. This plan, $625 million to extend the life of coal-fired power plants, those that economically would be shut down. Some are just kept running because they know if they shut them down, they would never come back online. 13.1 million acres of public land for mining, discount leases, lower royalty rates for mining companies to pay, eased air and water restrictions. That's a key part. So if you didn't want a coal-fired power plant in your neighborhood before when there were regulations, there will be less regulations around that now. And of course, renewables at the same time are being dialed back. So
he's upset about it. Good. Keep it going. Now, I got to tell you about my friends from Americans for Prosperity, because they are putting a lot of effort into a permitting reform bill that would actually speed up energy construction projects and mining projects. And they want your help unlocking the natural resources to build America's future, creating good paying jobs and making energy more affordable. If you want to get involved with Americans for Prosperity as they fight for energy expansion in this country and deregulation to speed up the permitting process, you can go to prosperityispossible.com. Prosperity is still possible in this country. The American dream is still possible, but it will take a concerted effort with common sense conservative reform to expand permitting reforms in this country and other projects. Americans for Prosperity want you on their side fighting for these things. Go to prosperityispossible.com today and see that prosperity is possible with Americans for Prosperity. prosperityispossible.com. Go check out today and join the fight with Americans for Prosperity at prosperityispossible.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.